Hello, welcome back to Behind the Filter podcast. I'm your host, Johnette Cruz. This week we were supposed to have Ashley back on for the After Dark edition, but your girl got sick. That was me. And it has literally thrown off my entire weekend. So you'll get Ashley next week. Man, these summer colds are like no joke. I was completely fine and then out of nowhere it just kind of hit me. And I have spent the last 2 days in bed. So there's that. And I've done absolutely nothing. I have slept and I have rested and I have doom scrolled and I have watched, I got all up to date on all of my horrible shows that I watch on reality TV. But I feel a lot better. So there's that. So anyhow, we will have another After Dark edition coming up soon. So this weekend you have me, or I should say this week because I'm recording this on a weekend. So today we're actually going to be talking about the topic of intuition. So if you are interested in intuition, where does it come from? How can you heighten your intuition? What can you do to learn how to trust your body and your process? Stick around for this episode. This is something that is actually, for me, has been quite interesting and an interesting ride in terms of being able to trust what my body and what my thoughts are telling me when I receive those types of things. Sometimes we like to, not listen to our gut feelings. So that's the topic for today. Before we get started, I just want to say a quick thank you to this amazing person who has been working so hard on my boyfriend's house. He actually does landscaping and he's been literally doing it all. He's completely redoing the back right now. So he's actually done the whole sod, the irrigation system, he's leveling the yard, done the landscaping. So he literally does everything. So like if you're looking for somebody to do full landscaping on your place or just simple upkeep, he's a great, awesome person. His name's Willie. Willie, quick little shout out to you. Thank you so much. I'm giving you a little freebie here because you're doing some good to my boyfriend's yard. So it looks absolutely amazing. So yeah, shout out to Willie. You can get a hold of him. I do have his number. So people here in the Indianapolis area, Willie, 317-914-2671. Isn't that brave? He gave me his number to tell everybody on my podcast. 317-914-2671. His name is Willie. So there you go. All right. We're coming into our podcast talking the subject of intuition. So I think there's a lot of different things when it comes to intuition, or like when you talk about like what your gut feeling is. And I found this article that was really good. It was actually on Oprah Winfrey's website, who obviously she reviews a lot of books. And so this actually came from a person who just recently published a book. Her name is Elizabeth Greenwood. And so her book is called Everyday Tuition: What Psychology, Science, and Psychics Can Teach Us About Finding and Trusting Our Own Inner Voice. Okay, I want to preface this by saying, just because I said the word psychic, don't get all open arms, okay? This is simply coming from a person who is in psychology and in science and has done some research, and I am pulling out parts of this book and I'm relaying this information to you. I know how you people think, so there you go. All right, so the topic fully on like what intuition is. It's often described as a gut feeling. So an immediate understanding or knowing about something without conscious reasoning or logic analysis. It's kind of like a spontaneous insight to basically what comes out of nowhere. I've had a lot of those gut feelings or the feeling of intuition when something pops into my head, or I'm needing to make a specific decision and I know like you just have this feeling in your gut of what you're supposed to do. Or like, let's say like you go somewhere and you immediately get this like ick feeling and you're like, this is not good, I need to leave. That's part of your intuition. That is part of your gut feeling. That is your body responding to the surroundings and to the things that you're picking up. And so I have had lots of those experiences where I've had those like quick intuition feelings where all of a sudden something pops in my head and I'm like, is that just a thought? Or do I need to pay attention to that? Or am I second guessing what I should do? Because is that just me saying that, or is it really my body and my brain already knowing what the outcome needs to be and I need to go and take this step? So I think sometimes it's really hard to kind of figure those pieces out. Also, I feel like sometimes when you talk about intuition and gut feeling, because sometimes you get these crazy responses within your body in terms of gut feeling. Like some people say, oh, I felt it in the pit of my stomach, or, my stomach was just tied in knots and I just knew something was off or something was wrong. It's like you have these reactions that your body does, right? And I think sometimes our bodies also make us think it might be anxiety, because a lot of us do suffer from anxiety. I have anxiety. So I question myself a lot when it comes to my gut and my intuition, because some of those body reactions can be mistaken for anxiety. And so I think it's you really kind of learning on your intuition, how you can use it, how you can trust it more, and then determining and realizing, okay, wait, is this just anxiety? Is this just worry? Or is this really my body and my brain telling me something that I need to do without prior knowledge to anything else? So those were the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about today. I just realized, okay, I'm going to stop really quick. Okay, I got this from Shein. I forgot to take it off. It is a nail ring. I don't know if I'll be able to pop this up or clip it, but it's a nail ring, right? And so it goes on one finger, but I didn't want to lose it, so I put it here. And then as I started talking, I realized it was in my pinky, but like literally look how cute. I think it's meant for like a smaller hand or finger, but I mean, I just did my nails. Can we just think, I'm sorry, the people that are listening, you just have to watch this video. It's just a really cute little accessory. I'll probably lose it, but it's cute. Okay, so moving forward, continuing the conversation on intuition. So intuition is not just because like the title of the book talks about psychics, or it's not something mystical, but it's really a powerful, learnable skill. Everybody has intuition. I feel like intuition is something that we have been gifted with as human beings. We have like a sensor, I guess you can say. And I think that it's up to us to figure out whether you use it, how to use it, and whether to determine on what information you receive with it, how to move forward in specific circumstances and things of your life. So common traits of intuition. So you have your subconscious processing. So that is believed to arise from the brain quickly processing information, patterns, and experiences stored in the subconscious mind. So intuition is thought to be product of rapid, nonlinear processing. And what that means is there's no like, let me sit down and wait and reflect and think. It's just an automatic response. It defies that part of logic sometimes. And that happens when you get those gut feelings, or when you get a thought in your mind out of nowhere and something happens. Rapid and automatic. It's an analytical thought. Unlike an analytical thought, which is step-by-step and effortful, intuition is fast, effortless, and often automatic. So it's not analytical. It is not logical. It's completely the opposite. It's also, a lot of it is based on experience. While it feels sudden, intuition is not magic. It's often highly correlated with experience and expertise. An experienced doctor might intuitively sense a diagnosis, just like if you're experienced in another sector, or you're experienced in something in a specific industry, because you have that knowledge and past experience. If something were to happen, your intuition immediately pops in because you've already experienced it and you already have that knowledge already in your brain. So there's several different ways that you can look at intuition. Often emotionally charged, intuitive insights can be accompanied by strong feelings like a sense of certainty, unease, or excitement. So the gut feelings or the intuitive feelings can come with some type of emotional response. And so that's when I think we get confused on anxiety versus intuition, because anxiety is an emotional response, right? Anxiety starts possibly like in our brain, but it comes out emotionally. And I think when it comes to intuition, you can have those same reactions. And so that's what I think is what's taking place here. Sometimes your intuition or your gut feeling can be right or wrong. It can sometimes lead to a bias or incorrect conclusions, especially if based on incomplete or flawed subconscious data. So it's also sometimes you have to take a step back when you get those intuitive feelings or those gut reactions to something. It could be something underlying. For example, you could walk into a specific experience or situation and it may trigger you because of something in your past. So then you automatically maybe have this like fight or flight response, and automatically you get that pit of your stomach feeling and you think, oh my gosh, this isn't good. Well, you're basing that off of a past situation that's possibly triggering for you, not necessarily your intuition or your gut feeling. So there are some subtle differences. Hopefully that makes sense. But you kind of need to kind of walk that line in terms of what is your intuition, what is your gut feeling versus what's anxiety, what is more emotion than logic, and kind of go through that. Okay, next piece is how to honor your intuition and gut. Intuition helps us notice subtle patterns and leverage points that might be overlooked by pure logic. Trusting intuition can lead to a greater sense of inner wisdom and ability to handle life's challenges. When full analysis isn't possible or practical, intuition provides direction. In essence, you learn to trust yourself, your voice, and your body's responses to things. So that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. I think I've always had a strong sense of my intuition and a strong sense of my gut feeling in things. I think for the most part of my life, I have ignored it. I have always thought, no, that's not true. One. Number two, I have always thought, no, that person can't be doing that. There's more to that person. Or no, I'm giving this person the benefit of the doubt. There's lots of reasons why I didn't trust that inner voice. I didn't trust the pit of my stomach. I didn't trust the body responses and the reactions to people and things and situations and experiences. I chose not to trust because I was second guessing myself. And I think that has to do with experience, and I think that has to do with time. I'm in a space right now where I have learned a lot. I've said this a lot, like I've lived like so many different types of lives, and I trust my intuition wholeheartedly. And sometimes there are moments where something will pop into my head, or I'll have a feeling about a person. I am more of an intuitive person, and I will sit back and the old Johnette will be like, no. They're cool, they're good, or no, that's going to be a good situation for you. And then my intuition comes back in and I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I want to like put it in the back of my head. But now I take it more for face value. And so I think that's something that comes with time. And it's something that you learn to grow through as you are experiencing your intuition and your gut feelings and how your body reacts to specific people and situations. So how to develop and trust your own intuition. Intuition as an extension of experience. Emphasize that it's trainable. It's not inherent. Understand the critical and frequent decisions in your life and work. And so that's kind of what I've kind of realized in my own life. Intuition doesn't innately come to you, right? I think all of us, for lack of better words, we all have like that small voice in our head sometimes about certain decisions. Some of us, have a voice in your head all the time, like mine, and or multiple. That's another story for another time. But a lot of times that's what happens. Like we have like this constant other voice in our head or thoughts that come into our head. And so sometimes we have to train what that voice is, or we have to train ourselves to know when that voice comes in, what does it mean? Intuition isn't just there and isn't going to yell loud and clear, like red flag. You know what I mean? Practice in context. Deliberately practice making decisions and observe outcomes. A lot of times when things or situations happen in my life, I'm a big processor. I've always said like it takes me a while to process things, and I think sometimes I get really frustrated with myself because I tend to overthink a situation and I overprocess. And then, for example, a situation will happen, there's some sort of exchange or something happens, but for me, I won't get a deeper understanding of actually what happened and what took place and possibly like what I learned from the situation until maybe like, I don't know, a couple days later, a week later, 2 weeks later, like an aha moment pops in my head out of nowhere. So I'm a little delayed in that aspect of once I make a decision, like what does the outcome bring? I do analyze it and I do look at it after the fact. And then I'm like, okay, now I know I made this decision because 4 weeks ago when this subject was happening, I had this thought of X, Y, and Z. So it's really, really like trusting yourself. It's taking note of what your body is doing. It's becoming more aware of who you are as a person. And I think that just develops with time. Review experiences, analyze past decisions, both the good and the bad, to refine mental models. Blending intuition and analysis. Use intuition for initial direction and analysis. Creating space for stillness. Oh, let's stop here for a second. And that's what I mentioned. Analyze your past decisions. Use your intuition as initial direction. If you are trying to make a certain decision and you feel like you're leaning one way versus the other, sometimes the way you're leaning is the way you're supposed to go. And then you just have to roll with it and see if it works. If it doesn't, like this book says, take the good and the bad and take what you can do from that situation or what you learn from that situation and how you can move forward and create a stronger bond with your own intuition. I stopped here because I think this piece is like the most important part when it comes to your intuition. Creating space for stillness. The importance of quiet time and reflection to tune into your own inner voice. I, for the longest time, was never still. I found it very, very weird to be still. I started meditating probably a good 2.5, 3 years ago. And before that, I never meditated. I hated doing yoga. I hated being still. I couldn't sit through a movie. I couldn't sit through a show. I was having the hardest time just sitting and just being. I always was like on the go. I had to do something. I had to work 5 jobs. I had to go take dance class. I had to go teach. I had to go work out. I had to do all the things, run my son everywhere. Like I never, ever quieted my mind and my body and my soul. The only time I ever did that was when I was sitting in church. And even then my mind would like race all over the place. It was very, very hard for a long time, even before when I was in ministry a long time ago and I would do like Bible studies and stuff. It was the worst for me to process information because I couldn't just be still. And that's like one of the biggest things in general. Well, in Christianity, but in life, it's like, how can you hear anything? How can you have thoughts? How can you have any like realizations about life if you just don't sit still for a second? And so the first few times that I started to meditate, I always had like music on, like kind of meditative music to kind of bring me down a little bit and kind of get a little bit more stillness in my life. And then I got into a few times where like, I just stopped everything. And it was so freaking weird. I hated it being quiet because then my mind was like, Johnette, what are you doing? Why is it so quiet in here? Do you realize you have X, Y, and Z to do? And you have a list so long to do and to finish and to do all of these things. And I just couldn't sit still. It was like the hardest thing. And then I started to do it a little bit more, even if it was just for a few minutes or for a few moments. And then as I started to train my body and myself to do it, it just started to finally become normal. And now it is so great when I come home. There's a long time for like when I would work from home where like I always had music playing in the background, like I couldn't have it be quiet. Now I need the quiet. I need everything shut off. I need the world to shut off. And it could possibly be, I'm in, not only do I do social media, podcasting, I'm a news anchor, I'm around news and people now 24/7, and it's a lot. And when I get home, I don't want to peep. I just want to sit in silence. And it's so relaxing for me. But if you don't sit in silence, if you are trying to gain a stronger perspective on who you are as a person, and be able to take in information and have some of those thoughts on your intuition and your gut feelings and all those things. If you're trying to strengthen that, you cannot do that when you are just moving 24/7. You have to take time to be still. You have to take time to sit in the quiet, in the mundane, and not do anything and let those thoughts come to you. Because if you don't take that time, you will never get those revelations. You will never be able to take those next steps because you haven't had time to process. You haven't had given yourself the ability to be quiet in order to get that information in. And so that was really, really hard for me to do for a very, very long time. And then now I figured it out, and now I'm like, okay, I need that. You know, there are still moments where sometimes I'm like, I can't do it. And I sometimes, struggle with it. But when I finally do it, I'm so grateful that I gave myself that time of quietness and stillness just to reflect, to breathe, to quiet the mind. I saw this, where there's been a couple like TikTok reels and videos where like there's a girl and like she must have done the voiceover, but it's like her just trying to sit to watch a show. And then all of a sudden there's like ding, ding, like all these different messages like, oh, you have to do the laundry. Oh, you forgot the coffee. Oh, kind of all of that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so me. Like I can't sit still and think of one thing. And so now it's like, I need to make myself sit still and not move and not think of anything and just let myself be, to let myself quiet. And it is a practice, and it really is hard to do sometimes. So I want to make sure that you guys definitely take that time, even if it's just, maybe you need to like read a book, or which reading a book is very, very hard for me to do. Most of the time I'm listening to podcasts because reading is super hard for me, just to, again, sit still and focus on that solely. But you have to figure out what works best for you. One thing I do want to talk about, and I mentioned it earlier, was like the second guessing trap, the challenge of trusting your gut when a purely analytical approach seems safer. I think we've all been there. I think we've all been in a position where we are presented with two options, and one is completely logical, analytical, smarter, a no-brainer, and then the other one is like, girl, you are out your freaking mind. Too many times, like, I have chosen that versus the logical. It's brought me some crazy experiences, but I don't change that. I think sometimes we have to take those steps and like trust our intuition and our gut feeling and make the decision that's outside the box or not part of the norm. I think sometimes that's the only way you can grow as a human, and to see like who you're really made of and how you can make a situation work. I actually just followed somebody on TikTok. Shoot, I forgot her name, but like I scroll a lot through TikTok because I just love finding people and content. And there was this girl who said that she loved music, and she's always been a lover of music. And she finally got her, corporate job, making a great amount of money, getting that stable income. And it just wasn't fulfilling for her. It was just a day in, day out. She was living like the rat race, basically. But she would just practice, her music at night. Like she had this mix board. She was a singer. She wanted to create beats and do all these things. And she decided to quit. Up and quit her job and became a music producer, basically. And everybody thought she was crazy. And that was, I think it was about 18 months ago. And she did a slide. I think that's really popularly on social medias. Instead of like telling your story just on a video, a lot of people are making more carousel stories of like how they started in a situation and kind of moved through. So I was reading her slides, like I was working in corporate America, and then I was going home and I was putting music together, spending hours putting things together, and people thought it was just a hobby, but I really wanted to do it. And then I finally gave in, and without a plan B or without a safety net or all of those things, I went in. And then she said, and here I am now, 18 months later, I'm playing, I think she's playing somewhere, the amphitheater over in Colorado, I think it's Red Rock. in front of 10,000 people hearing her song because her song went viral. And I was like, yes, like that is what life is about. Like if you don't ever try and if you don't ever have those moments where like you'll always second guess yourself. And that's one of the things she said. She said, I did this because if I didn't do it, I would be on my deathbed questioning whether I should have done it or not. And she didn't want to live later in life regretting that decision and not trying. And I've come to the same conclusion with a lot of things in my life. There's a lot of things I've tried at and I have failed at, or I have tried and realized like I thought I wanted this, but I don't, and I need to pivot. But I don't regret any of those things. Did some of those decisions that I make suck? Absolutely, 100%, because I had to live through it. But it's my lived experience that helps me move forward in what I'm doing now as a human, as a person who just generally works in media and loves content, a podcaster, now a news anchor, a mom, all the things, you know. I think there is something really, really important about like living those experiences and being able to experience it and say, yeah, you know, that one time when mom did X, Y, and Z, like whenever are you going to get that? And so she went ahead and did that. She second guessed herself. She did. But then she finally was like, no, I'm not going to second guess myself and I'm going to do it. And she did it and she's living it now. Could have she failed? Absolutely. 100%. We all fail. But what's the worst that happens? I've always said, what was the worst that would happen if like, cause I had a fitness studio, I was in fitness for a long time. And I was like, what's the worst that happens? I go back and get a real job, a normal job. Jobs are always going to be there. They might be hard to find. They might be hard to get full time, but you know what? That is always an option. And I'm just saying, you know, sometimes you just have to try and you have to not second guess yourself and just like go for it. You know, that's what I completely think about intuition in general. So just to kind of recap everything that we've talked about right now, you know, intuition can be powerful. It's experience-based really, and it's really a great tool for better decision-making and for you to have more of an authentic life. I mean, I think a lot of people, and even I do this, like a lot of times I get this thought and I'm like, I don't know about that. And then I'll go talk to a person that, you know, I trust their feedback and I can have like an honest conversation with them and they can give me honest feedback without, you know, trying to sugarcoat things because they're my friend. And I think we all need that too. But I think in having those conversations and in you just like using your authenticity and your intuition in general, that gives you the time and the focus to learn yourself more, to be more about yourself, to become more authentic, to be more grounded in who you are as a human and has just as in whatever, insert artist, a creative, a person who loves music, or, you know, I love selling houses or whatever, insert whatever it is. You're just growing in that stage of where your life is. And I think that's an amazing thing to have. And I think having intuition is an amazing gift that we all have. We just have to plug into it and we have to use it. You know, your tuition, think of it, it's really a superpower. You can trust it deeply when you hold on to it. You can use it wisely. You can really let it guide you in situations when you're questioning things and you're having doubts. I think it's an amazing tool for us to have in our toolbox, I like to say, of things when we're trying to make decisions and we're trying to go in specific areas of our life. I think that's super important. So I love being able to connect with myself on a deeper level. And I think that we all should work that way. We don't ever want to make a decision or do something in life just to make somebody else happy. I've done that a lot. I've been like, and I've said this before in previous podcasts, like I've been like this huge people pleaser for a really long time where I've done so many things to please other people. And in the end, I kind of just lost who I was as a person and as a soul and just as Johnette. Like I was still there, but I wasn't really there because I was living a life for everyone else, but I lost myself in the process. And so for a long time, I shut my own intuition off. And I think we have to walk a very, very careful line when it comes to living a life that we love and having passion, and then also pleasing the people around us at the same time. Because although those people may have the best intentions for you, or they may not, I think you probably are the only person that knows what's best for yourself in the deepness of your core. There are moments when sometimes you just need to trust yourself, and you just need to go with your gut, and you just need to move on that, and you don't need to explain your actions to anybody or get permission or get feedback. Because at the end of the day, it's up to you and it's your life, right? But at the end of the day, it is up to you and it is your life. And so you're going to have to figure shit out if things don't work. So it's like, you can take that gamble, but why wouldn't you? You know, so I think intuition is a super important part of our bodies and for us to have. And so I just, I want to encourage you guys to just take some time to have some stillness in your life. Take some time to realize like what your body does when you have feelings of a weird sense of something, or like your intuition's in play, or you have a gut feeling. Like our bodies react very, very suddenly to things sometimes. And what I mean by that is there was a situation a couple of years ago where I was going to someone's house, and out of nowhere, I was fine. And out of nowhere, I got the worst stomach ache of my life. It came out of nowhere. Now, granted, I have an immune disorder and I have huge digestive issues with my digestive system, but I knew it wasn't that. And I knew my brain was like, you're not supposed to be here. And I ignored it. And now I look back on it and I went. It was not a good situation. And then 4 weeks after that, I was like, my whole body was telling me not to go, and I ignored it. So now I know, okay, Jonette, when you're going into a situation that you know you're not supposed to be in, or maybe might not be good for you in that situation, I'm not saying it's life or death or anything in that specific instance. I'm just saying my body had a reaction and I didn't listen. And so now I know, okay, I got this weird feeling, or you just get this weird feeling around a person or a situation, like listen to it. So it's like one thing I know. So once you get to know your body a little bit more, it's definitely helpful for sure. Because I know sometimes we want to just ignore it. We want to just think like, oh yes, that's my intuition, but I think I know better. No, you don't. I think sometimes we think we know better and we want to ignore our intuition. But for the most part, like our intuition's there for a reason, and our gut is telling us something. And so it's there for us to give us advice and tell us information. But a lot of times we choose not to listen. And then we put ourselves in the worst position because we didn't listen. And sometimes, you know, your intuition's like, I told you 20 times, but you didn't listen. Sometimes you just have to decide to listen to yourself when it comes to intuition and your body and how it responds to things. And the only way that you can figure out what your body does is by you kind of doing some of these things, along with like being still and getting to know who you are and how you're around people. That's the other thing. Who are the people that you're around? Who is your circle? How do they make you feel? You have to take that into consideration as well. You have to take kind of like, what's the word I want to say? Inventory of the situations and the people that are around you. If you have people that you're around and man, it is like doom and gloom, then like your body's probably like negative. That's a negative for you. So there's other things besides like a body response that you just know these are good people, or no, these are not good people, or your body's trying to tell you in some sort of way. So I would say to look at that too. Know what people you're supposed to be around and how they are helping you and encouraging you and supporting you and being positive, or if it's the opposite. If they're negative and they're taking you down and they're gossiping and They're just not looking at life in the right way. I mean, that will affect you and who you are as a person, and you don't want to do that. The book that I'm taking all this from, again, it's called Everyday Intuition: What Psychology, Science, and Psychics Can Teach Us About Finding and Trusting Our Inner Voice. I don't know specifically the entire book, so I don't know specifically what is she talking about in terms of like the psychology and science and psychic part of it all. I imagine she put the word psychic in there because I think a lot of us think, like we can feel people's energy. We are a little bit more in tuned. We're more intuitive. We're more empathetic. If you're more of an empath, you kind of feel things from people, and there's lots of people that are out there like that. And so I think sometimes that runs a fine line into that world. You would have to read the book and kind of decipher for yourself where that's something. But a lot of it is from psychology, and a lot of it is science-based when it comes to your intuition, your gut feeling. But again, her name is Elizabeth Greenwood, author of Everyday Intuition. I actually found her book from the article that when I was researching this title from. It actually came from oprahdaily.com. And so the title for this is called Your Body's Hidden Superpower, The Science of Intuition. So it's basically, this article is kind of deferring whether like it's your intuition or if it's anxiety, because I think we blur the two lines, because I think intuition and anxiety give us the same type of emotional and physical responses when we come across situations. And so I think that article, more than not, tries to help you differentiate either one, because they're so close together when it comes to some of that stuff. I actually wanted to go and see, I think I had the link up for the book. It is available on Amazon. So this is actually what the book says: a captivating and insightful deep dive into the world of human intuition, exploring the power of this elusive phenomenon and how it can be harnessed to better know and trust ourselves. So it's all about self-help, self-development, on how you can trust yourself more on a day-to-day basis, and also more on a deeper level. We rely on our intuition even though we don't fully understand what it is, how it works, or if we can even trust it. In this fresh, mind-opening book, Elizabeth Greenwood takes us on a sweeping investigation into the subject, exploring how in our data-driven world we can harness intuition in our day-to-day lives. And again, this is not sponsored or anything. I literally just wanted to research the subject of intuition. I think it's a really, really good topic, and I just came across this and I thought it was a great fit. Digging deep into her personal experiences, as well as insights from neuroscience, psychology, feminist texts, psychics, and everyday people with extraordinary intuitive ability, Greenwood explores what we know about intuition, how to distinguish it from instinct wishful thinking, anxiety and denial, how it serves and sometimes fails us, and how it impacts our dreams and unconscious behavior, and also how it manifests in everything from romantic attraction to premonitions. So here she's trying to just basically say, like, we're breaking it down from every little bit and piece. And I believe that there are people, and I have been in contact with many people that are highly gifted in their intuition. And it is something that they have either worked on, or not to say that it comes natural, but they just have an amazing gift. And it seems as though like she has those conversations with those people who have all of that. She also says the book says Greenwood places a special emphasis on women's intuition and how it has been designated or denigrated, I guess you can say, throughout history, but can offer us a more hopeful, grounded way of experiencing the world in a time of so much uncertainty. And it's so funny that this, and I didn't realize it before, that this is what she kind of hones in on women's intuition. Because there's so many sayings about, oh, it's women's intuition, you just know. Oh, it's mama's intuition when something's going on or something's wrong with your children or your kids, or you just know something's off. It's women's intuition. I mean, I feel like that saying is not there just for a reason. You know what I mean? People say that specifically because I believe women have been gifted this amazing ability to be more intuitive when it comes to people and experiences and situations. And I think it's up to us to be able to harness that power within us to not only grow our own relationship within ourselves, but then to be able to grow relationships with other people and to think differently and to have a different perspective and to grow in those certain areas of your life. The book continues to say, everyday intuition provides practical advice on tapping into our self-knowledge and learning to trust our instincts. It examines the science behind intuition, including how brains process information, how psychedelic medicine and manifestations are opening new doors of consciousness, as well as how these helpful methods are being abused by some coaches, teachers, social media influencers, etc., and how we can train ourselves to be more intuitive and ultimately enhance our daily lives. So it's funny that she mentioned the whole like social media. I think everybody sells everything on social media. There's lots of different types of businesses and social media influencers out there where you do have people that are more like your self-help coach or your intuitive coach that can help you get more connected with yourself and all of those things. Here she's saying like, you don't need a coach. You can have this book Kindle's $14.99, okay? Hardcover, $25, audio CDs, $29, okay? So instead of you going and paying a coach hundreds and hundreds of dollars and that coach is promising you the freaking world when it comes to learning more about who you are as a person, you can do a deep dive on your own and spend time by yourself learning all of these things. I think there's something to be said about that when like you dig in on your own instead of you having to have a coach. I know coaches serve purposes. I was a coach, for fitness and for personal training and for bodybuilding competitions. Coaches serve purposes for all things. But I think when it comes to something like this, if you feel like you need to go deeper, you can. Yes, of course, you can always get a coach to help strengthen all of those things. But I think it's a disservice to yourself if you just don't go and try on your own. You're learning about you. You know what I mean? You're learning about like what makes you a person, what makes you a human and a soul, and how does your intuition connect yourself, and how does your gut respond to things. Everyone always says like our digestion and our gut is our second brain. I mean, our intuition is as well. So you don't need somebody to tell you that. You can find something like this, read articles, do some research on your own, being still. That's also part of your own personal development, is doing something like this instead of hiring somebody to do it for you and then paying them $5 million to do it. So I think you just choose wisely when it comes to having coaches and all of those things. It just really kind of depends on, what you would like to do with intuition. I absolutely love all of these subjects. I think they're so interesting and different. I have my way of thinking, but I'm such a Libra when I say this. And let me be very frank and clear. I do not know every other person's zodiac sign or astrology. Okay. I pay attention to mine and mine only. But from what I know, a Libra is literally, from what I have looked at and read up on and researched on, is literally who I am as a person. Like, I am open. I want to be balanced. I don't want people arguing. I want to see both sides of everything. I want to see outside perspectives of everything. And so I just love being able to kind of hone in on all of this and figure out like who I am as a person, and then connect it with all of the other things, all of the other extensions of who I am. Because I think once you understand yourself better, and I think once you do the work on your own, you then know how to understand other things within your life. For example, because I have a better relationship with myself, I'm going to have a better relationship when it comes to me being a Christian and me having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I know I'll probably get people open arms about talking about psychics and Jesus all at the same time, but I'm having an open discussion here. All I'm saying is that these like self-help and personal development things are ways for you to get to know yourself on a deeper level. And then after that, go dive into those other things that make you who you are. Go dive into having a deeper relationship with your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife. Go have that deeper relationship with your children. Go have that deeper relationship with the people you work with. Go have that deeper relationship with the people that you consider your circle, or whoever your higher power is. I think it all starts with us. And I think if we don't have that strong foundation, you're not going to have a strong foundation with anyone else. You need to start somewhere, and that somewhere is to get to know who you are. If you don't, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? I'm going to get off my soapbox here, but that is the podcast for the day, talking about intuition. I'm going to, I did this last time because we talked about, what was it? Biohacking. I'm so green to biohacking. And so I really wanted to have a discussion on that. And I put the outline on my website. I'm going to do the same thing with this week's podcast episode. All the things I researched about intuition, I will put it on the blog post. I'll also link this book if anybody's interested, and also the webpage from Oprah, who, tit for tat. Like, I'm not the biggest Oprah fan, okay? But I like to do my research, okay? And this is what I came up with. So all of that information will be on my website at johnnettcruz.com. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode on intuition and just getting to know yourself on a deeper level. I hope you find this information great, and you can find out who you are on a deeper level and get to know yourself a little bit better. Again, all the information is going to be online at johnnettcruz.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye.